Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third module of the series Medical Affairs. In this module, we will talk how the Medical Affairs department is different from the sales department of the pharmaceutical company. It's not a very exhaustive module. Briefly, we will touch upon a quick history, like what used to happen earlier, how is it changed, why is it changed, and what are the differences and why exactly does it matter. So initially in the past, what used to happen that there was not a clear distinction between the research team who used to work on the drug development within the pharmaceutical company and the sales team, which used to face the clinician side. So there was a disconnect. We have already discussed this even in the first module, the introductory module on medical affairs also. So this gap between the two departments, I mean between the clinician and the research team of drug development, this gap the salesperson was not able to tackle appropriately. So this led to instances of overly aggressive or inappropriate promotion, right? And seeing this, the regulatory bodies established strict uh, codes of conduct, right? The other module, that UCPMP, which we have covered in the second playlist. So therein we have discussed about the strict regulations, and because of all of this, the need of having an independent scientific department arose, right? So earlier it used to be a promotional era. Over a period of time, over aggressive and not so scientifically supported promotion from the sales team led to a erosion of trust between the pharma and the clinician. So from this era, we moved now towards the compliance era. Okay, so based on the regulatory compliance, we have an entirely different department of medical affairs. And again, from that department, we have the medical science liaison, right? So that particular MSL would have the comprehensive scientific data associated with the product, which he is going to discuss with the clinician in the field. So, mission wise and vision wise, the two teams, the team of medical affairs and the sales team of a pharma company, differ a lot. So herein for the MSL from the medical affairs, the purpose is to educate, not exactly educate. It's just to have a scientific peer-to-peer discussion, uh, rather two-way exchange of scientific information with the clinician. Okay, whereas for a salesperson, the goal is to increase the numbers, to increase the prescription, and thus his vision would be to promote a particular product. Now, if we talk, in practice, how the roles would differ, both we have discussed, goals are different. Communication, herein for the MSL, the medical affairs person, the communication will be reactive and responsive. What does it mean? Based on the clinician may ask data specific scientific queries to the MSL, unlike the commercial salesperson who won't be able to adapt to the clinician's queries. Then again, content wise, certainly medical affairs, the MSL would have the comprehensive scientific data. and not just the not just the positive data. He will also be having the data around the adverse effects, around the side effects, around the negative outcomes of using that particular product, right? And yeah, this off-label and on-label thing we'll discuss in the later slides. Primary audience for an MSL would be a clinician. I mean, primary audience for both of them more or less are same. However, now a salesperson either would ask an MSL to accompany him when he is going to meet a clinician, or in fact, MSLs have replaced the role. So, an MSL can handle both sorts of queries in a way. And success metrics for both of them are different. For the sales, it would be quantitative, whereas for the MSL, it would be qualitative. Now, coming to on-label and off-label. See, if there is a particular drug, that drug is, when it undergoes clinical trials, there would be multiple effects seen for that drug on multiple systems, right? So for one or two particular effects, the drug would get approval from the regulatory body such as FDA. So that becomes the on-label prescription. If a particular clinician is prescribing a drug for an indication, for an effect which has been approved by the FDA, we call it as on-label. But during the clinical trials, if it was seen that the drug has equally positive outcomes for other effects also, however, the FDA has not yet given its approval on them, those become the off-label indications. So how does it become relevant over here? If a salesperson is in field interacting with a clinician and the clinician asks him about, so for example, A is the primary effect for which the drug has been given approval by FDA. However, B and C are also the positive outcomes, the positive effects of the drug, however, not being approved by the FDA. So in this case, if the clinician has any queries for the effects B and C, a salesperson is not supposed to respond to those queries. However, an MSL can, based on his scientific data, the comprehensive scientific data, the MSL can have an interaction with the clinician on off-label indications as well. Okay. So now we'll discuss a few scenarios and we'll see how this firewall comes into play. So let us imagine a situation wherein a doctor asks the MSL or the person from the pharma company that I heard your drug for lung cancer might work in head and neck cancer. So lung cancer is the FDA approved primary indication, on-label indication. But even head and neck cancer, they say it's effective in. So these become the off-label indications. So in this situation, a sales representative response would be, that is an interesting question. He cannot respond to that query with yes or no. He can simply assure the clinician that he will discuss with the concerned department, with the medical affairs department, and he will revert with the relevant information. At the same time, if it's an MSL, he can share the published data from the trials with the clinician. So here, this meeting, if a clinician is meeting with an MSL and if he is able to procure responses to his queries, then it will become productive for the clinician, right? Second scenario, at a medical congress, if the pharma company has a stall again, The sales rep at the promotional booth cannot discuss the new data. However, an MSL can. Likewise, if we talk about the KOLs who want to do IITs, I mean investigator initiated trial, what exactly does it mean? If a clinician wants to use a particular drug of a pharma company to run an independent trial, we call it as investigator initiated trial. We discussed this in the previous module wherein we were talking about the common terminology used in the field of medical, in the department, within the department of the medical affairs. So we also discussed another term. The other term was investigator sponsored trial, right? So again, an MSL can take a call in this situation while interacting with the KOL for his willingness to initiate an IIT, but sales rep cannot. So what are the benefits? The ultimate, the eventual benefit is in favor of the healthcare system. So for patients, it will ensure that treatment decisions are based on sound science, scientific knowledge. For HCPs, they know that whatever information they need, whatever trusted information they need from the pharma partner, that is being provided to them. And for the company, certainly it will, in a long term, if the company is compliant to what the regulatory bodies have put in place, then certainly it will help the pharma companies. So the three C's, if we talk about of this firewall, it would be compliance, credibility, and communication. Communication, why? Because it ensures that the right information is exchanged. And remember, medical affairs. Yeah, so this we have already discussed that medical affair, the goal for the medical affair person is to educate, not even educate, to exchange the information with the clinician. So, thank you. Stay tuned for the next module. Therein we'll discuss about the patient centricity. How is it changing how is it evolving the scenario? Take care. Bye bye.